team's in trouble, and he'll just throw it up and picked off.
This is the Coach's Smoke Barbecue Baylor pregame show on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Backfield for Bohannon. He'll throw it. Now steps up. Wants to run. Bohannon to the corner. Touchdown Bears. Feet don't fail me now. Gary Bohannon with his best rushing performance of the season.
The Baylor pregame show is also presented by the Nitchie Group.
First down, Smith with running room. Abram Smith picking him up, puts him down. Abram Smith down inside the 10.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Here we go, Saturday afternoon in some games with evidence. And I don't care if Oregon beat Ohio State. I don't care. Ohio State today sent a message loud and clear to college football. And Baylor tries to send yet another one this week up in Manhattan, Kansas. Oklahoma trying to hang on against Iowa State. West Virginia trying to seal the deal against Texas. And they just did. They will go bowl eligible if they win their last game. Texas can't get to a bowl game. They lose 31-23. That game not yet final, but just stopped on fourth down. Man, what a day it's been. I'm telling you right now, Ohio State today. Any questions about them? And yes, they have Michigan next week. And yes, they lost to Oregon. But I was just blown away, almost jaw-dropping how explosive they can be on offense.
That was ridiculous. And I know it's a bad look for Mel Tucker to sign a $95 million contract and then the first rattle out of the box get blown out that bad. I mean, one game will not make or break Mel Tucker's career, but that one is a self-esteem crusher if you're Michigan State. You know, the one thing that you have, going for you, not the one thing, but the best thing you have going for you is that on offense, you've got Kenneth Walker, a guy who can run the ball straight at you all the time, and Ohio State's not been good at that, and it didn't even matter. It didn't even matter that he was there.
No, he was a non-factor. 25 yards rushing is what he ended up with. So Pufko, his Heisman hopes, and I would think, and Pufko, Michigan State's unbeaten hopes. And, that was just a really super impressive game by the Buckeyes. There's a reason why, that Oregon game has factored in so much. And, Oregon obviously very happy with today's result of Ohio State winning again. But, despite that one blemish, they've been – especially here as of late, really good. Yeah. And C.J. Stroud's been rising up the Heisman talk rankings. And their receiving core, I mean, really their whole team, but their receiving core, we've talked a lot about the two Texas guys and Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then you got Olave as well. I mean, that's just absolutely unfair. And all three of those guys go for over 100 yards and one touchdown. And Wilson and Olave both had two touchdowns. I mean, it's insane what Ohio State did. But, big blow for Michigan State. To their hopes, and you're right. It's like people were asking, why didn't Aranda sign a contract extension? And I'm sure people would have loved to have seen it this week, but I don't know. I would have been a little let down if he had signed one a couple days ago. We celebrated it, and then he turned around today and got whooped in the fashion that Michigan State did. So little positive, but a big negative here on Saturday for Sparty.
Ohio State had 655 yards of offense in the win. Michigan State had just over 200. Walker, 6 carries, 25 yards. He was completely taken out of the game. Stroud was incredible. I'm a Heisman voter, and I was watching every throw he made. He was phenomenal. You mentioned Dave Aranda. Armstrong, did you get the email from me, Bruce Feldman, earlier today on Fox Sports? I sent that to you for audio for today's pregame. And you're going to hear this, and there's been text messages that I've received on our text line, and also text and others about, as you see more and more smoke about what's happening, whether it's USC or whether it's Washington or whether it's LSU. And some of you are starting to get to the point where you want Dave Aranda to come out and say something. I don't know if that's what he's going to do, but again, the speculation continues to mount. And as one of the 281 sent me this text a minute ago, for context, I hate seeing a coach and his agent use Baylor like a stepping stone in the gardening department at Home Depot. Makes me sick, but it is what it is. I cannot change it. It's always about the money, and I find that to be gross. He hasn't done anything yet. I know that there are concerns about the stories, but Armstrong, do we have the Bruce Feldman audio? All right, we do? Here, I want you to listen to actually what he is saying, because I saw this, and the reason I saw this, I don't watch a lot of those pregame shows, I just don't. But the reason I saw this was a thread on Sikkim 365 in the premium section. Aranda is gone. Or Aranda is all but gone. Bruce Feldman reporting that Dave Aranda is gone. And now watch and listen to actually what Bruce Feldman says here.
USC. Matt, Rich, you know anything about that program right now? Yeah, one of several Power 5 programs looking to hire a head coach. What is the latest on that search, Bruce?
Rob, a lot has changed on the coaching landscape in the last 2 months since USC fired Clay Helton. For one, back in September, Baylor's Dave Aranda had a career coaching record of 4-7. Well, now we're in late November. Baylor is 8-2 there, coming off a showcase win where they shut down Lincoln Riley's offense and OU. Aranda's coaching stock has gotten really hot. I am told that both USC and Washington are very intrigued by Aranda. Keep in mind, Aranda has West Coast roots. He grew up about an hour away from USC and has a lot of family still here. One other thing, though, he realizes and is very self-aware about how he may not be an ideal fit in certain settings. So he's going to be very careful about what his next move is. Things figure to get really interesting, Rob, over the next couple of weeks in Waco.
When
Bruce,
did he ever, in that time period, ever say Dave Aranda was taking the job at USC, LSU, or Washington?
Never.
Nothing he said was nothing we haven't already said on this show, but people look at it because it's a national show. Well, we are coast to coast in a way, and I understand Fox Sports and Bruce Feldman. And then he kind of toned it down along the way. However, Dave Aranda knows whether or not there are certain places he might be a fit or not. And even, in fact, some cases we've said that more than once or twice. I wanted to play that because you see that and oh my God, he's leaving. He might end up at USC. He might end up at Washington. I think that's a lateral move, even if Washington has a pretty good history. He might end up somewhere else. And I get that you might be a little bit on edge because Baylor football fans have PTSD because of Briles, and then because of Rule, and now because of the swirling, at least the speculation about Dave Aranda.
Well, and I'll take a straw poll here in the room. If he came out and said anything, it would not change most of the world's minds. It would absolutely not. Because he could go, listen, there's never a way that I would ever leave this place over my cold, dead body, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Jimbo Fisher just did that. Went on a 4-minute diatribe about all the things he loves about College Station. You know what most of the world said? Yeah, that's great. We'll see what happens when LSU.
Art Briles, when he took the job at Baylor, what did he do the day before at Houston?
Yeah.
Said I'm not leaving here. The next day he was introduced as the head coach. Now, I understand you want to hear that. That might make you feel more comfortable. I get you get worn out by it. I think it's a compliment. I also know that it can absolutely wear you down. But what do you want him to say? What if Dave Aranda comes out and says today after the game against Kansas State, if they win, that I'm staying at Baylor? You believe him? Because you think his personality or his character is better than other coaches who have said that before? I'd like to hear him say something. He's gotten close to saying a few things. He talks in ways that Dave Aranda speak. So I just wanted to open up with that. Craig, your thoughts. Is anything that Bruce Feldman said, anything we have not said for the last couple of weeks?
Do they have a game today?
Yeah,
do they have a big game today?
Yeah.
I think they have a big game today. That matters a whole lot more. I think Dave Aranda hadn't won on the road, and I think that they've got a big road game today. So quite frankly, that's all I really care about. The speculation stuff, we can do that now after the game, all day night tonight. We can do that all day tomorrow. We're going to do that now for the next several days. So, all that stuff's gonna come whether we like it or not, no matter what we think or not. But they got a big game today, and that's really all I care about. As far as Bruce Feldman's comments, whatever. Maybe there's something to them. Maybe there's not. I'm not going to sit here and stress out over it. I watched Art Briles go. I watched Jim Grobe go after a short little stint that we knew he was going to be going after. To only see Matt Rule, to only see that, he played that whole game. He played the whole, no, I'm never leaving, or I'm going to be around here for a long time. Oh, look at me. I signed the new contract. And it all felt empty the entire time because you still knew he was probably leaving. So why did we go through all the stress of sitting there and worrying about it? I'm not going to do that again. I'm just simply not. I'm not going to do that for any other coach ever again. So I think Aranda is a damn good head football coach, but he's not the end-all be-all, just like Art Briles wasn't, just like Matt Rule wasn't, just like anybody else you want to name isn't, unless their name is Nick Saban. So as far as Dave Aranda goes, go beat K-State today, and then I'll start to worry about where you're going to go. Because if you don't beat K-State, then I think this is all just very silly.
Kansas State, Baylor, again, 4:30 is the kickoff. We'll take you up until 4. Also this afternoon, a game that kicks off in 20 minutes, TCU at home against Kansas. And Oklahoma State tonight, trying to continue to impress the College Football Playoff Committee. They're home, on the road against Texas Tech, who beat Iowa State, who just lost to Oklahoma. That's a final. OU intercepts a pass from Purdy near the goal line, and they beat Iowa State in a very weird game that I never could get a grasp on, 28-21. Oklahoma winning was not great news for Baylor. But Baylor has to take care of Kansas State no matter who wins today. And West Virginia, as we mentioned, has sealed it against Texas. Longhorns now 4-7, no bowl game, 31-28. Remember what you said about Letty Brown earlier this week?
Yep.
33 carries, 158 yards, a touchdown, and Daggy threw for 290 and 3 scores.
Yeah,
in that win.
When he has good days like that, statistically, Daggy that is, they usually win. Letty Brown, I mean, nice numbers, but I still feel like he's a guy who's piled up nice numbers without you really even knowing about it or it being all that important. You know what I mean? It's like you look up and you feel like Letty Brown really not today necessarily, but like yesterday when I was talking about how I just feel like he hasn't really made a huge impact, and you listed off like, well, he's got like 11 touchdowns. Really? I wouldn't even think that at all. But he had a boneheaded decision at the end of the game, stepping out of bounds. Luckily, it didn't cost them, but that's a really good win for West Virginia. Good for Neil Brown, for a guy who was, rumored off and on throughout this season to be on the hot seat, or, speculation about his future when the losses were piling up. I mean, he's righted the ship. It hasn't been pretty at all, but it's been righted nonetheless, and they're going to go to a bowl game, and that's a big deal because that was looking like a long shot. And now for Texas, I mean, my gosh, 6 straight losses. 6 straight losses. And this is like
it's unprecedented.
No one in this room was born the last time they lost. Yeah. No one in this room was born.
The 50s, right? 58?
56, I think, 56, is what it was.
Obviously, I wasn't born yet either. That's how long ago that was.
Yeah, so
your parents weren't even thinking about you yet.
Right.
No, they were selfishly thinking about my oldest brothers.
Yeah.
Damn.
So that's how long it's been, and that's just incredible. I'm rooting for Stark, the person, to do well. But yeah, there's just, you could tell that Hudson Carr was banged up, and just the whole thing's off with that team. I mean, it's just off. They need to get to the off season, and based on today's result, they're going to get there sooner than later. Yep. So that's probably a good thing for them. But that's still, I'm not trying to rub it in on Texas. It's amazing. They lost 6 straight games. We've never seen that.
And the potential to close out. Well, I mean, it's Kansas State next week.
Yeah,
right?
They could lose again next week.
They could lose again next week, and to 7 straight on the way out the door after in the first half of the Oklahoma game looking like they were about to make a splash on the national scene in year 1 to now being an afterthought in the Big 12. Yeah, man.
By the way, speaking of taking it off, Baylor men's basketball. It was 34-28, Baylor leading Stanford at halftime, and Akinjo hit a shot with 3 or 4 seconds left in the half to lead by 6. They opened up the second half with a 26-3 run and blew the Cardinal door off. 86-48 today. I mean, emphatically.
That was
beat Stanford down.
That was deforestation by the Baylor team today. That was very much what we saw from the Baylor team last year, where they're playing a team. Stanford's the best team that they've played this year, the most talented team. And basically what they did was, Stanford hangs around, and then you get to a point where the team knows exactly how Stanford's going to attack them and exactly where Stanford's weak, and they took advantage of every part of it. That's how they won the national championship last year. The minute you showed any weakness, they just absolutely went after you, and today was no different than any of the games you saw last year where you're like, man, I don't know what's going on here. And then all of a sudden, they get so red, smoking hot, you can't even get near them.
Cryer had 21. Kendall Brown, 15 points, 3 steals. How about Akinjo? 11 points, 11 assists, 4 steals. And if he plays at a high level, and he should, the transfer from Arizona, that sets them up because we know the guard play last year was out of this world. Now, some other games in the top 25. I'm going to mention the score. You guys make a comment or two. Again, number to call, 254-339-1122. We'll hear from my conversation with Dave Aranda on Monday, and we'll also hear from Jeff Burkhardt, who covers K-State with a podcast that he has on the K-State Wildcats. A&M 52, Prairie View A&M 3. Okay. That's all we need to say.
Yeah,
who cares?
Iowa at halftime leads Illinois 17-13. Notre Dame 31, Georgia Tech nothing, and that's early in the second quarter. That's emphatic for Notre Dame.
Jeff Collins might be in trouble, not because of that game, but just because a lot of games kind of go this way. And Notre Dame trying to make a statement to the playoff committee that, I mean, Georgia Tech's not a quality win, but I think they're probably going to try to put some sauce on their wins on the way out the door because they need to tell the playoff committee that loss in Cincinnati doesn't mean anything anymore.
Well, the problem is Cincinnati's in front of them, and that was a huge win, although we've seen head-to-head. Who knows when it gets down to crunch time. All right, Alabama, Arkansas, they just kicked off. Maryland and Michigan just kicked off. Virginia, Pittsburgh just kicked off. UAB early with the lead on UT San Antonio 7-0 as Jeff Traylor and company, the Roadrunners, try to remain unbeaten. Cincinnati has scored quickly, a touchdown pass, 53-yard Ritter to Scott, 7-0 Bearcats lead SMU. That could end up being 50-40 before it's all said and done. How about this one? Clemson throttled Wake Forest 48-27.
Yeah, Clemson's offense woke up today. Their defense played really, really well. And I'm kind of surprised. I thought Wake Forest was going to win this game. I thought it would be a lot closer than this. But Clemson in Death Valley, really. Look, DJ Uiagalelei has not played a good game all year long until today. And he was fantastic. Their offense has not really played a good game all year long until today. Wake Forest defense is that bad. I thought their offense would help to overcome some of that because, it just balanced out. But, man, Clemson's demise not there yet.
George, go ahead.
Yeah, Ukulele was good. It was a run game though. I mean, Kobe Pace and company, they just ran all over Wake Forest. I can't say that I'm not going to pretend like I was sitting here calling upset or anything, but I'm really not surprised. I mean, maybe that it was such a blowout, but Clemson winning. I mean, Clemson's still 7-3.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like their bad season. We talk about them, and it's like we're talking about Texas or something. They've lost 6 in a row, or they're not going to go to a bowl game. I mean, Clemson's still 7-3, so not entirely shocked by that, but still a bigger blowout than probably anybody expected.
Georgia held Charleston Southern, as you would expect. They hold a lot of people. 126 yards of total offense. That's one of those SEC games buried deep in the schedule, like Prairie View A&M or like others. 56-7. Bulldogs, Ohio State. We mentioned 56-7 over Michigan State. We mentioned Kenneth Walker was just completely irrelevant in this game. C.J. Stroud, 32 of 35, 432 yards and 6 touchdowns. Teague had 95 yards rushing in the score. And here's the part that is just incredible. Olave, 7 catches, 142 scores. Garrett Wilson, 7 catches, 126 and 2 scores. Smith Njigba, 10 catches, 105 yards and a score. But like 8 other guys caught the ball too. They just boat raced Michigan State.
Yeah, Smith and Jigba and also Garrett Wilson both made the 16 semifinalists for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award, which again, award that I do some work on, and it's for the best college player from the state of Texas or who plays in Texas. And obviously Smith and Jigba from Rockwall. You got Garrett Wilson from down in Austin. And there was a little bit of debate when we were narrowing the semifinalists on, do you take 2 Ohio State receivers, in a group of 16? Is that one, maybe you just one guy? And I'm like, you can't decide between Wilson and Smith and Jigba. They're both so good. And if you leave one of them off, then there's a really good chance the other one goes off the rest of the way. So, yeah, I mean, both of them did today. Both of them did today. And that's why I fought for both of those guys to be in the final 16, and they are, and rightfully so.
So that's 56-7. Ohio State just absolutely humiliated Michigan State. There's a couple of other games that are final. We mentioned Oklahoma 28-21 over Iowa State. Wisconsin early over Nebraska 7-0. Virginia 7-0 over Pittsburgh.
So,
and that game's early as well.
Matt Campbell doesn't care if they lost today, though, right? Because it doesn't matter.
But he didn't have a goal.
They're not trying to play for championships or anything.
He's 6-5 this year.
But it doesn't matter. That's not what they're playing for. It's the record is what it's the record.
It's about their overall humanity.
It's about the feel-good stuff off the field. That's all it's about. I mean, so today doesn't really matter. I mean, good win for Oklahoma, but for Iowa State, I mean, the result wasn't what they were out there for, so.
55-10.
Iowa State fans.
Do you realize how stupid that sounds?
Iowa State fans will either love him for saying that, or some of them will be like, "Yeah, coach, that's all great. I'm glad that you guys get along well, but I'd rather you win the game."
I've seen the moms and dads who just it really is about. And look, if you're like just deeply invested in the Iowa State community, and for you it really is just about like humanity and, lovey-dovey, and it's not really about the wins and losses, then you probably loved his statements. But if you are a diehard Iowa State fan who's looking at the best football the program has ever played and the opportunities that are in front of them, and they're going 6-5, that's not sitting well with me. That is not sitting well with me as a fan. So he can say what he wants, and for the blue hairs, I'm sure it's great, and for the diehards, I'm sure it's great, but for the diehard football fans, get out of here with that mess.
I don't think it is. They're 6-5, and yet, you know what? 2 years ago, Baylor interrupted their party of the Big 12 championship game. Last year, Oklahoma beat them. Tough game. Tough game. And, of course, we know that those games with Oklahoma have always been tough. They're 6-5. They're as disappointing to me as what Texas is, even though they're not going to a bowl game, because the expectations for Texas are always too high because of their history and championship 20-something years ago, whatever it might be. Oklahoma wins 28-21. Now, with that win, if Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State and Oklahoma State wins in Lubbock, is Baylor blocked out?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
That's for Baylor's sake, that's a tough win that Oklahoma got against their hopes. So they need something to happen, but they got to take care of their own business.
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, they got to beat K-State, which is not a guarantee, and they've got to beat Texas Tech next week, which is not a guarantee, and even then it might not matter, and that's why that TCU loss is such a bugaboo still, because you can say what you want about it, but it was a horrible loss. I'm not trying to dwell on it, but when you look at them probably getting left out, even if they go 2-0, that's the TCU loss. That's directly the TCU loss. So I think some of the kind of anger coming out of that was justified because of what it could have potentially done. And now you look and what it's probably going to do, even if you handle your business. But if you lose to K-State, I mean, it's super over. I really thought Iowa State might be able to knock off OU today. But because of that, I don't know what the exact – I think Oklahoma would have to obviously lose Bedlam next week. And
no, Baylor has to win their last two, and Oklahoma has to lose to Oklahoma State.
Yeah, so I said Oklahoma has to lose Bedlam next week, and then, Baylor's got to win their next two.
Yeah.
And that still wouldn't be enough, right? Because Oklahoma State would still have only 2 losses, and they'd have the tiebreaker. So
No, I thought you said Baylor has to win their last two, and they need Oklahoma State to beat Oklahoma.
Okay, yeah.
To get Oklahoma in that tie with Baylor.
Yeah.
But there's still 2 games today, and then again, there are games tomorrow as well. Also, Mississippi State rolled Tennessee State, one of those bury the game at the end of the year, and nobody will notice, 55-10. Will Rogers, 391 passing, 5 touchdowns in the win. Mike Leach and company now are 7-4 on the year. So, all right, now, Kansas State, Skylar Thompson, what we've talked about, Jeff Burkhart, was on with us, in fact, this week. He covers K-State. Dave Aranda, one-on-one on Baylor and following up the win against Oklahoma. I want you to think about this. Oklahoma now, have they won a game? How many games have they won by a touchdown or more this year?
I have no idea off the top of my head, but I know going back to Iowa State, pretty much all their games have been 7 points or less when you look at all of their losses.
Western Carolina, they smoked them. They beat Tulane by 5, Nebraska 7, West Virginia by 3, Kansas State by 6, Texas by 7. In overtime, no, it wasn't even overtime. They beat TCU by 21, Kansas by 12, and then they beat Texas Tech up 52-21. So they have more of those than I thought. And then this one's by 7. And I think you've seen last week what the playoff committee was waiting for, and then they had. Baylor beat Oklahoma 27-14, but they did win. They beat Iowa State. And Kansas State, who lost to all 3 of the teams at the top, tonight or this afternoon at 4:30 in Manhattan against Baylor.
Oklahoma's signature win right now is over Kansas State. Like, that's the best win that they have this year. And the Texas win at the time looked like that was a season-defining win, and then it gets worse and worse as those weeks go by. Because since that moment on, Texas has the wheels – it's not just the wheels are off, the axles are off. I mean, there's no car. It's
Well,
falling
they
apart.
started out when Sarkisian was hired, and all the teams and programs do this. All gas, no brakes. Text us what it should be now. YouTube chat us. What should be, at least now at 4-7, what should be UT's all gas, no brakes? What should it be now? No gas, no brakes. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Or just empty. Just that thing of just the sign of your gas is on empty. Notre Dame scored again against Georgia Tech 38-0 there. That score in their game against Georgia Tech in South Bend. All right, when we come back, Paul, Dave Aranda or Jeff Burkhart?
Let's do Jeff Burkhart
Jeff
first.
Burkhart covers K-State, has for a long, long time. Also, the YouTube is rolling. The chat room's coming back. We'll have some of that as well. And calls at 254-339-1122. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the BetUS hotline, 254-339-1122.
Here we go, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Let's go chat room. You guys jump in. I'll just mention the chat, and you guys jump in. We've already had some of this. Mark Tharp, 6 in a row now losses for the Horns. Ouch. That's still hard to imagine.
It really is. I mean, it is, and I'm not trying to dwell on it, but my gosh, I don't anticipate probably talking about it ever again either. I mean, that's how rare it's been that, again, it's happened before anybody in this room's ever even born. So, yeah, I don't know what the answer is for Sark other than just getting into the offseason, changing up some of the roster and hitting that transfer portal and, I don't know. But, man, it's going to be really interesting to see the situation as he walks into a year 2 and kind of already being on that, that do or die kind of thing.
He's walking down the plank already.
He is, yeah.
Jennifer Witcher, Country Roads, Take Me Home.
Hey, yeah, and congrats to West Virginia. Come on. Congrats to the Mountaineers. I mean, I know a lot of people were down in the dumps even just a couple of weeks ago. They jump up, get the win over Iowa State, and then turn around and get shellacked by Oklahoma State kind of a deal. Just very up and down season. But, for a team that's had some issues, whether it be O-line early or whether it be Daggy at times or whatever the situation might be, they're going bowling. That's a big deal for Neil Brown, so congrats.
Max, I don't know how many times you were listening in the first 25 or so minutes. You said, please respond to Ohio State. We have slobbered all over to the point where it's almost uncomfortable. They were absolutely as good a performance I have seen from anybody in one game against somebody quality, you'd think, with Michigan State this year.
Look, if we'd met them on Match.com, they wouldn't like us because we came on too strong.
Yeah.
That's how much we talked about Ohio State.
Do you know who the happiest group of people are right now? It's that playoff committee. Remember the whole big to-do about Michigan State? And, they look right in this instance, but they also shouldn't be setting up the deck chairs for what they think is going to happen. They should just be set up the way that they are. So I still maintain that I don't care that Michigan State was playing Ohio State this weekend and you thought they'd probably lose or whatever. Have Michigan State in front of Ohio State, and then when they lose, then move it.
But not until then.
Yeah.
From Archer Quick, Ohio State has the Oregon stain. From Max, different team now. They would dominate Oregon now. They would race Georgia.
And you will hear that. Yeah, okay, the Georgia thing, hold on there.
Let's see what happens.
As far as the Oregon thing, you'll start to hear that now from the playoff committee. It's different teams. Those earlier, you're absolutely going to hear that. Absolutely.
From Archer Quick, Buckeyes get in. I'd be shocked if Michigan even makes it a game next week. From Max, how about the report from Austin about boosters wanting players based off race? Probably not true, but damn. No, that is a very reckless conversation from Brian Davis. He played there. Brian Jones. He played there. I don't care. I'm not naive. That right there, if you don't have substance, and I mean something to grab onto when you make a comment like that, then, man, that you could lose a lot of credibility. A lot of credibility.
See, that kind of stuff happens at places when you're already mad at the coach. It's going on at Miami right now with Manny Diaz. Whether some of that's true or not, but there's all these, here's how practice goes, or here's how this goes at Miami. And maybe Manny Diaz is going to get fired and deserves to, but with Steve Sarkisian and the Texans, this is what happens when you're already fed up with something. So you hear these gossip and rumors and things like that, and you say it because you're trying to throw gasoline on the fire. Yeah, if you're going to say something like that, you better have receipts, Brian Jones.
Yeah,
you better.
From our Brian Etheridge, who's in the studio today, rethinking that Mel Tucker $95 million extension. You're going to go back to what he was talking about?
Yes, when y'all said, because I didn't know about these comments or whatever, I hadn't seen that yet. When you said Brian Davis, I was like, huh, what? He said what? And then when you said, no, wait, Brian Jones, I said, oh, okay, well, then totally that's who would say something like that, and that makes all the sense in the world, and that's why I just don't even consider it serious.
Easy for Life. What's up, guys? Decided to check out some things today with y'all, and a pretty easy walkover today in Athens. Another great show, if it seems as always. Go Dogs. Thank you. Georgia
Dogs.
took care of their business.
Yep.
Let's see.
Man, what's it like
back
for
and
Georgia
forth on
fans?
Ohio State Georgia fans. They may not even play, but I get that we're kind of simmering that.
Georgia fans' hearts will be in their throats until the trophy is up here.
Yeah.
Because they've come really close a lot of times over the last – I mean, heck, with Mark Richt, they came close several times to being a team that you should – oh, my gosh. And with Kirby Smart, they've come close a couple of times, but they've not gone over the hump yet. It looks like Kirby Smart has got him there, but we'll see.
From Mark Tharp, Craig laughed my blank off at Campbell rant, and Campbell is overrated, and he was agreeing with you on that. Let's see, from Easy. Go ahead.
I think he's a good coach. I thought that was really silly. I mean, I thought that was silly, and I'm curious to see what happens with him. I mean, is all his talk yesterday kind of an inclination that, they're really building something and they're going to do all that and he's going to be back next year and it's all going to just be building Iowa State? Or, is he a guy who's on his last legs? Because, look, there's big jobs open up right now. And we talk about Dave Aranda a lot, but Matt Campbell's getting a lot of mention too. So I'm curious to see where his path goes with all these jobs open.
Honestly, I wanted to send Matt Campbell a shirt. You can see you've seen it online where it says, "I just hope both teams have fun."
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Yeah.
Here are some responses. Let me rattle all of them off from you, our audience on YouTube, 365 Sports in the chat room, and text lines blowing up here. 254-339-1122 from Easy for Life. All gas, no brakes, and over a cliff. From Brian, broken. Max, UT, let's take a nap. B. Hambear, flat tire. Trevor, all gas, no brains. Mark, all clutch, no gas.
I like the all gas, no brains. That's funny.
Trevor, DUI. Common sense, all cash, no chips. Jen, DOA. Trevor, all gas, but you're riding a bicycle. UT, big hat, no cattle. From Charlie, UT is the rusted Chevy with no wheels up on the blocks that looked great 40 years ago. From Easy for Life, he just keeps throwing them out there. All gas, no brakes, but you're a Tesla. You're in a Tesla. Yeah, big hat, boots, driving a Toyota Corolla. And then on and on. All cash, no discipline. Max, thanks for the coverage.
Cash,
appreciate
no
that.
discipline. That's a good one, too.
Oh, my God. This is you guys are rolling. Okay, back to now. Baylor and Kansas State. We'll get to that again. 254-339-1122. Ohio State gets hit by a big red truck with Georgia driving it, period. This ain't the Big Ten down here. There's a lot of that simmering because Ohio State flexed their muscles. We may never see that.
That's kind of the game I'd like to see.
That's the game I want to see.
Yeah, me too.
That's the game I want to see, is that game right there. I know there's other good teams that are involved, but there's not like the automatic Clemson. They're going to be in there this year. So with no Tigers and Alabama's great too, but man, I want to see that matchup. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I want to see greatness. I want to see who can survive the onslaught of what's going on. In the Big 12, I mentioned there's a couple of games, including the Baylor K-State game at 4:30 tonight, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. TCU and Kansas will kick. In fact, they have just kicked off. That game is in Fort Worth. As TCU still is in the middle of who's going to be their head coach to replace Gary Patterson.
The TV ratings for that one will be off the charts. TCU and Kansas, TCU in the midst of coaching change. Kansas, though, has got that momentum. You never know. Kansas, hey, watch out.
Did you see the sign today? And I don't know if it was on Fox Game Day or if it was on ESPN and what they do on Game Day. In the background, there was a sign that says, "We want Kansas." Like people would say, "We want Bama." I love it. I love it. All right, when we come back, Jeff Burkhardt covers Kansas State. The Wildcats have run off 5 straight wins after that 3-game losing streak early in the year against Oklahoma State, and also against Iowa State. And he's next to break down K-State and Baylor. 365 Sports.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary, or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At long last, it's time for some college football. Bird Collision Ford proudly supports the Baylor Bears as they take the field this season. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Collision Ford. We have some great vehicles available this season as well, so come check out our winning lineup of new Fords. Let's cheer the Bears on to victory and celebrate by buying a new or pre-owned car, truck, or SUV. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sic 'em Bears.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Earlier this week, I was a part of College and Kimball, the Kansas State podcast with Jeff Burkhardt. He joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Jeff, great to have you on the show. Thank you very much. Are you surprised that Kansas State's a slight favorite in this game? I know it's a home game, but Baylor ranked high inside the top 15.
Somewhat. I think what you and I talked about earlier this week, the fact that Baylor has struggled on the road against teams not named KU, I think that plays a little bit of a role in it. But also I think odds makers probably looking at the fact that K-State's been hot here, obviously, over the last month. And I really think that's why K-State's got the edge. But again, normally if you're at home, you're getting 3, and K-State's only getting 1 or laying 1 right now. So I think odds makers have it pretty well dead on, though. This is going to be a dogfight, and it's honestly would be shocked if this was more than a 1-score contest either way.
Obviously, the schedule didn't fall their way as facing tough teams when you got to face Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, the first 3 rattles out of the box. When you're K-State, how much of that team that lost those 3 games still exists inside the one that's red hot right now?
It honestly appears as if they put it all behind them, and I just really think they just needed to get the 1. That's just one of those things. It's like a shooter in basketball who's on a cold spell. He just needs to knock down that 1-3 to just start to get the momentum going. And you've heard no talk in the Veneer complex about the first couple of conference games, what was going wrong offensively, defensively, what they were like when they had to roll Will Howard out there at quarterback against Oklahoma State. There's just been no chatter about that. They put that in the rear view, and this team, it's very coach speak-esque, but they truly are taking it one game at a time, and they are focused on the here and the now. If you ask anybody about what happened against Iowa State or what happened against Oklahoma when they couldn't force a punt, I think they wouldn't pay much mind to it. I think they're locked into the way that they're playing right here and now, and that's just really manifested to the level of confidence that we see them going out with here these last couple of weeks.
What have you thought about the way Skylar Thompson has played since the injury earlier this year? He's been back for a while now, but not running the ball as much. Just what have you seen from him offensively? And just he's clearly the missing piece, right? I mean, this K-State team without him is an entirely different thing.
It absolutely is. And there's a little bit of an infight amongst fans about what Skylar Thompson is, what he can be. And I'll just say this, he is a terrific college quarterback, and really it's fortunate that fans were deprived of essentially a full season of him last year. He gets knocked out in the Texas Tech game just, midway through the third game of the season. And a couple of years prior when Bill Snyder was still head coach, he and Alex Delton were in a quarterback battle that, frankly, a lot of people didn't think really needed to happen. It was very apparent that Skylar was the guy who should have been getting the lion's share of the reps, if not all of the reps. So fans have really been deprived of a lot of Skylar Thompson. He is a tremendous talent, and I think it just took him a little bit to settle in this year, but he's really turned into one of the more dynamic passers, really, in the country. He's sixth right now in yards per attempt and passing efficiency. He's hitting over 72% of his throws. He's in such rarefied air now, too. We're talking about a guy who's really putting up better numbers just in terms of a completion percentage than Jake Waters, Josh Freeman, and I know going back a ways, Michael Bishop and L. Roberson, those two played in a much different time in this offense and whatnot. It was back then in the late 90s, early 2000s. If you were hitting 55% or so of your throws, you were a pretty solid quarterback. But yeah, for Skylar Thompson to do what he's been doing here in recent weeks, it's not shocking to me. And he's obviously got a great complement in the backfield and Deuce Vaughn to help stress defenses and really open up throwing lanes for him. He's just been terrific, and obviously to go out on a high note here coming up on his super senior day.
Well, I gotta say, we hear Michael Bishop's name casually thrown out.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard L. Robertson's name in a long
and
time.
He was fantastic too.
Yeah,
he was. That's two great names in Kansas State. Jeff, history. The three losses. Kansas State got kind of hit with the schedule kind of just right out the top, right in their face. Oklahoma State on the road, Oklahoma, and then Iowa State at home. Nobody in the conference, not Oklahoma State, not Oklahoma, and not Baylor, is going to have any of those three teams that are on their schedule and everybody plays them will come out of that unscathed. How much do you feel like that their record is deceiving because of just what I said there with those three back to start the conference schedule?
Timing is everything, as they say, and I think honestly, if you flip flop, if you move Oklahoma later on in the season, or even certainly Iowa State, the way that they've kind of wobbled here in recent weeks, it was really unfortunate that the way that it shook out. And the other thing too, K-State fans were pretty bullish going into that Oklahoma State game, even with Will Howard. They had just come off of a pretty decisive victory of a really good Nevada team out in the Mountain West, and they thought with Oklahoma State kind of wobbling the way that they had in the early part of their non-con stretch, they thought they could go into Stillwater and get a win, even though K-State's only won one game in Stillwater since the year 2000, and Oklahoma State smacked them in the mouth, and they've got a darn good defense down there too. I guess I'll say this. I don't know if the record is super deceiving just because while I did talk about Skylar Thompson being an exceptional quarterback, and it's unfortunate that Caleb Williams has taken off the way that he has, because honestly, Skylar might have been running for potentially first team all Big 12. It might have been a stretch. Gary Bohannon, obviously, as you guys know, has put up tremendous numbers as well. But the limitation of him not being able to run. This is a guy still at this point in his career has over 1,000 yards rushing, and to have that element of the game taken away. I think if K-State had that, had Skylar Thompson been fully healthy, I think K-State would have had a chance to potentially steal a couple, if not all three of those games and potentially be undefeated. I think that might be a bridge too for some, but we've seen what a difference that he can make. So I just knowing what we know now about him having obviously needing to deal with the injury, I don't think the record is super deceiving. K-State's offense is somewhat limited without that extra dimension of him being able to run the ball. They have struggled at times trying to just go hat on hat and just open lane straight up for Deuce Vaughn or Joe Urban, whoever it may be. So without that added threat, I think, this team is probably right where it should be. Had Skylar been healthy, though, the entire way, I think potentially an 8-2 or a 9-1 K-State team could absolutely be on the table.
So earlier this week, we were talking a little K-State, and we got some background on Felix Anadike-Uzama and kind of how he came to be. But, I mean, golly, going from playing in a handful of games last year as a true freshman to now being number 2 in the country in sacks, top 10 in tackles for loss, top in the country with 6 forced fumbles on the year. I mean, what kind of rare air is he playing with? K-State's had a lot of great defenses, but the turnaround from just last year to this year, what's the talk been like surrounding him?
Everybody knew he certainly has the measurables. When you look at him and you just see the length that he possesses, the overall size that he brings to the table, he certainly has the body, and he's definitely one of those first guy off the bus types. And fans were very bullish on him coming into the season, and frankly, defensive end was a position where K-State was really loaded with Bronson Massey and a guy they lost earlier in the year who was really supposed to be the catalyst in this 3-3-5 look. Khalid Duke got taken out by a chop block in that aforementioned Nevada game. Felix Anudike was really going to be probably more the secondary piece here, but he really just came onto the scene. He had a big breakout performance, had 3 sacks against Southern Illinois, and everybody kind of ho-hummed at that effort. It's a 1AA team, and Southern Illinois is a fine 1AA team as far as the Mo Valley goes, but nobody really paid much attention to it at that point in time. And then K-State they enter that murderer's row facing arguably, certainly 2 of the best teams in the Big 12 right off the bat, and then you face a very experienced Iowa State team, and everything wasn't just nothing was really meshing at that point in time, and Felix Anudike was held in check at that point. But then all of a sudden things just really take off, and I'm sure everybody's seen the big play when he blew up the play against Texas Tech to get the safety, when the guy held him down and he still got 5 yards in the backfield and tackled Sharadrick Thompson for a loss there. And really, that's just kind of where he took off. And then TCU just pretty much forgot to block him the entire day in that game in Manhattan when he. Yeah. I was going to say he ended up with 4 sacks, and that's one thing K-State fans will chirp quite vocally about because 2 he should have ended up with 6, but there were 2 forced fumbles in which the ball went forward. In the NCAA, the way that they score that is when if the ball goes past the line of scrimmage and is recovered, it's technically deemed a run. So he lost 2 sacks there. He should have had what would have been an NCAA record-tying performance in that game against TCU. But again, he's up there with the likes of Darren Howard, a guy who was just wrecking teams back in the late 90s for K-State's defense when they were coordinated by Phil Bennett, a guy your guys are familiar with. And he will have the opportunity to play on Sunday. Fans obviously hoping he sticks around Manhattan all 4 years, but quite frankly, I'd be surprised if that occurs, especially with the way that he's been performing as of late. He has just been a one-man wrecking crew.
So, Jeff, Baylor has struggled on the road this year, which I'm sure you guys are well aware of. That's like a big question mark for them just over the course of this season and certainly heading into tomorrow. But tomorrow is senior day. You got K-State riding this win streak. It's going to be Skylar Thompson's last hurrah. You've got a top 10-ish team coming into town. What's the atmosphere and kind of the excitement level for tomorrow?
And not to bring it back to the point that Smokey brought up a little bit ago, but that 3-game skid at the early part of the season was so deflating for so many fans. It's unfortunate that there are still quite a few tickets left on the secondary market right now for this game, and students are heading back early for Thanksgiving break. It's unfortunate, but it doesn't look like they're going to have a huge crowd on hand. I mean, I would expect in the neighborhood of 40,000, but that's still leaving close to 10,000-ish seats open for this game, which it's unfortunate because, as I said, this is a team that's playing its best football of the season right now, and you have a very dynamic Baylor team coming in with, you know, the best 1-2 punch in the Big 12, arguably, in Abram Smith and Gary Bohannon. You got a defense that's rock solid at every level. And honestly, though, the other thing too, and I don't know why, and I think some of this kind of harkens back to a discussion that I've had amongst friends and whatnot. When we think about Baylor, I'm in my mid-30s. I remember watching Baylor growing up. I remember those just deplorable Kevin Steele and Guy Morris teams, and I think that negative stigma still really surrounds and it stays with a lot of the fans that are my age, and certainly the older fans who got to watch those teams roll into Manhattan or K-State go down to Waco and smack Baylor around. And it's unfortunate that people really haven't realized that Baylor has really done such an exceptional 180 in their own regard for what they have and where they were not, you know, just 10-15 years ago, and where they are now with what they turned around, having 3 terrific hires, and say what you will about off-field incidents with Art Briles, but football acumen, you can't really question it. But with Briles and then Matt Rule and now with Dave Aranda, it's unfortunate, but I just don't think Baylor really moves the needle as much for K-State fans as it probably should. You know, really the only big-time game against Baylor that I can remember K-State fans really showing up for was when RG3 came to Manhattan in 2011, and fans were really jacked up for that game. But right now, I think fans just look at this. This is a good Baylor team. This is a quality team. But I think the fact that they're just sitting at 8-2, and K-State itself has been eliminated from Big 12 title contention, it doesn't really have the type of buildup that you would want to see. I think we'll still have a pretty entertaining football game one way or the other, but the atmosphere from K-State's perspective, I don't think you're going to see the same type of juice that they had when Oklahoma rolled into town earlier this year. Fans were obviously out for blood in that one, obviously with the news of Oklahoma electing to go for greener pastures in the SEC. Fans really wanted that one, but I think we're going to take a couple ticks down in terms of the intensity we'll see at Bill Snyder Family Stadium tomorrow.
Jeff, keep up the great work. Great to hear from you again. Thank you for being inviting me to be a part of your podcast as well. Thank you so much for the time.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks again, and hope we have a good one tomorrow.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that the Big 12 is moving forward with what they have coming up in the summer.
Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary, or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's the Black Friday sales event going on now. Come see the beautiful, elegant third-row seat Jeep Grand Cherokee L in stock at Allen Samuels. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited has total values of $3,500 or 0% for 72 months going on now and no payments for 90 days. First responders get an extra $500 cash. Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
We will hear from Baylor head coach Dave Aranda here momentarily to update you on a couple of games in progress. Iowa late third, 20-13 over Illinois. Notre Dame is boat racing Georgia Tech 45-0. Halftime, Alabama 10-0 over Arkansas. 11 minutes left in the half. Michigan 14-0 early second over Maryland. Pittsburgh leads Virginia 14-7 second quarter. UT San Antonio tied at 14 apiece. Cincinnati just scored again. Ritter is having himself a game. And it's 20-0. Cincinnati leads SMU with the extra point to come. And there's just a minute and a half into the second. They missed the extra point, so it's 20-0. Ritter has thrown for one and also run for one. Brigham Young early lead over Georgia Southern 7-3. Those are the games in progress right now. Wisconsin 14-7 lead Nebraska. That game still early in the second quarter.
Yeah, I hate that missed extra point. That's just like the kind of thing that, I mean, they might end up winning this game 60-0, but that's just like the one thing when everything's going so well that you just shank an extra point and all of a sudden, they score and then, that comes back to haunt you. So hopefully that's not the case for Cincinnati. It doesn't look like it's going to be, but it's kind of an odd fail right there. But yeah, 20-0. And just starting the second quarter, so they are pouring it on right now on SMU. And you got to wonder with SMU, is this all Sonny Dykes related? I mean, not only could Cincinnati just be a better team, which I think that they are, but you also do have to wonder where the psyche is of the Mustangs right now, because especially in the last 48 hours or so, there's been a lot of talk about their head coach moving across town to Fort Worth. So, I do kind of wonder, looking at the score, if that's not playing in as well.
From Easy for Life, Ohio State has not been in any phone booth fights all year. They're not ready for 4 quarters of can of ass whipping. I love
from Georgia or just from anybody.
Let's just cancel everything else, okay? Let's just go straight to Georgia and Ohio State next week. Yeah,
I want it. And whether it's in the semifinals or the championship game, I want that game. And then who are the other two? I mean, let's see how the dominoes fall. Yeah. I mean, if it's Bama or whoever, I don't really care. But I do want to see Ohio State, Georgia in a big way.
All right. Now, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, David Smoak, Brian Etheridge is in the building. His daughter, I think, is taking a nice little nap, as she should be. I would be. That's a very comfortable couch. And Armstrong Sims runs the mothership. When we come back, or right here, Paul? When we come back, all right, we'll go. Earlier this week, had a chance to sit down with Baylor head coach Dave Aranda after the win against Oklahoma and ahead to the game with Kansas State. And here's that conversation. Baylor football coach Dave Aranda, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. When was the last time somebody burned your waffles?
No, I know. No, I just think there has been a lot of growth with our team, but I think that's one area that there's still a fair amount of work to be done, and I think it's natural. I think you everyone likes the things the way they like them, and everyone wants a certain order. And, you know, you work really hard and you expect things to go a certain way, and when they're not, you know, I think, you know, it takes some discipline to not get derailed, especially when that thing is not the thing, you know. And I think so many of us, we tell ourselves stories. Or, you know, there's this story I'm telling myself in my head, and then that gets me feeling a certain way, and now all of a sudden my behavior is impacted. And I think that's, especially with, you know, a lot of our young people, that is where the fight kind of originates. And I think, you know, to spend time there and to invest in that space, I think will help, you know, off the field for sure, on the field certainly, but you know, still work to be done.
Just like a day, if you're in a hurry, it's always a red light, or there's heavy traffic, and
you think it's all just for you.
Yeah. So you are a physical football team, and obviously that's what you've done with your running game, but defense as well. Can you try to give me an example of how intense Tuesday inside run drills are, and what that has done for your football team?
No, it's, you know, let me say that we probably, I mean, we are in full pads, but it's a quick whistle. So I have the whistle, and I think it's full speed and trying to get guys to stay up. And I think, you know, so much of spring and fall camp, we would be on the ground. There would be, you know, a fight that would break out. There would be, you know, guys talking this and guys, you know, talking back. And, you know, it just seemed like we could not get out of our way. And I don't know, you know, it was very much, it was a pretty big deal to kind of get that to where, you know, hey, we're doing this we're competing good versus good, but I'm making you better, you are making me better. That is more the issue, because we're all going to play so-and-so university. That is more the issue than, you know, I'm beating you or you're beating me. And I think so much of it in the beginning was that. And as you know, I think it's one thing to understand that in a classroom. It's another thing to be in an arena and to have, you know, heated competition, pressure, and all that, to exercise that. And so it took us quite a while. So it's at the point now to where full pads, it's full speed. We'll have 20 some plays, and there'll maybe be 2 guys on the ground, 1 guy on the ground. So I think, you know, that's an example of what we just talked about. That's the inside work being reflected on the outside, and so it's that allows us now their understanding of pushing each other. And you know, there's team, there's unit, and there's me. I think most folks are going to think of me, and then they're going to think of I'm on offense or I'm on defense. They're going to think of the unit, and then the last thing they're going to think of is the team. You know? And so to flip that upside down is team first. No superstars, no superstar coaches. Right? It's the complementary football, and everyone, you know, takes everybody and all that, and then me at the very bottom. I think that is kind of the core of that, of us being allowed to play physical and run the ball and stop the run, because otherwise, you know, human nature will get in the way.
And not a lot of that anymore in football, is there? As far as practice, it seems like it's getting more and more away from that. Mm-hmm. The less time to practice, less contact because of injuries, and obviously the NFL with the salary cap and all that. But is it getting away from that, or is that just something you feel like? It's not like you do that every day, but
yeah, I think it's not as common as it was. I think our understanding of how to take care of each other and how to practice, as well as a quick whistle, I think aids in our ability to kind of keep it going. I think you know, if there is a so that's thud tempo for us. So if there is you and I head up and we're in short distance, I will thud you up if I'm on defense. Meaning I'm gonna chest pop you, hit on the rise, and we use the word we used to use the word entanglement until it got hijacked. So it would be an entanglement, a chest pop and a hip pop, and there'd be a full body on you, and that would be in tight quarters. And then if it is more space, a thud would be long stride to a short stride, working off to a side. So not encouraging kind of knockout shots because it's unnecessary. We want to get in position to make a play. We're not. It's not about wiping somebody out. And so I think those things took some time to get across, and I think that's made a difference in that we can have 9-on-7, this week in November.
Isn't that something that when you played the game, you were, a battering ram? Mm-hmm. You broke your helmet one time, blood coming down your forehead. Isn't that what you loved? Did you thrive on those kind of drills?
Yeah, we practiced the opposite of how I would have played. Yeah. But I think the game has changed. And I think the I was not very. I was probably more me than unit, not really thinking of the team. I was thinking about how can I earn this spot? How can I make my mark? How can I, no one sees me. I need to play. I need to do something to be noticed, right? And so I just think those are all the drivers. The person drives the player, and I think to see those things and address those prior to those, I think the blow-ups either on the field or on the sidelines are obviously results of just coaches not noticing.
Bryson Jackson on a play when Caleb Williams actually threw an incomplete pass. Matt Jones was there. Then he got like double teamed on the ground, like a WWE thing. Right? He had no chance. Mm-hmm. And yet, because the play was delayed and Williams was forced away from Matt Jones, that was as much of a motor play, not giving up, I've ever seen.
Bryson's been coming on for a couple weeks. I think we call it above the line and below the line throughout the week, and highlight and effort. And so when we do above the line would be the standard. And we use the term Baylor ID, so we have a thumbprint, and it all goes out like this is our identity. And Bryson has been on there a bunch, and just his effort throughout practice and his care factor, and just I think he was on there twice last week. And so those things, when that is connected, and as coaches and as teammates, you see that, and there's a trust in them, and there's a belief, even stronger belief in them, and then he gets opportunities because he's earned them, and then when he has the opportunities, he shows you completely who he is and plays green. It doesn't hold back.
Right.
That's such a cool deal. That's the way you'd like it all to go.
One thing on the end of the game, I saw a picture of you. It's chaos. I mean, everyone's excited. You never once took your mind off of what you wanted to accomplish. Was it almost like everything else was outside? Because you could have just said, the heck with it, forget it, run the clock. You never lost your focus. Is that Jedi in you, that Bruce Lee in you? Yeah, seriously.
No, I wish it wasn't the whole thing that it was. I think really for us, we were trying to not let them score, and I think I wish we wouldn't have let them score. Mm-hmm. I wish we would have executed. I think that whole. I think there's defensively the faltering there a little bit at the end, and then offensively that drive where we were able to run the ball and then score a touchdown. I think when things are going well, right, how you come out, how you execute, what's your mindset, what's your energy like. That's this week. I think that's this week completely. And I think offense gives us such a great roadmap to how that looks, and defensively we've done that before. But I think this past Saturday gives us some left to be desired in that area. But I think when we did not keep them out, it just became, we get the ball back, we're going to have to try to put points on the board.
You mentioned in the press conference, and I was the one that asked the question, Joey leaving, that hurt you, didn't it?
It's just, I mean, there's a lot of connection and a lot of connections with him. I think there's a lot of, 5 years is a long time. Relationships are very strong with him and with us. And, I just think it's a bit unprecedented in the middle of a week during the season. And I think, to maneuver through all of that, I think it's one thing to kind of say, hey, we're moving on, this is what we got today. It's another thing to meet people where they're at. And so that is a much more arduous and longer path, but it's the right one.
When you were working as a security guard at a truck stop, you were also contemplating joining the Navy. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
You ever been one of those meant to be things or what if guys?
No, yeah, I think when I was enlisted in the Navy, I remember going to the Navy office. It was right next to like a Pizza Hut or something. So we would get pizza like it was once a month, and just the kids that would go there. It was very much like just my group of friends was not the people that were represented in that meeting, and so it was very much like you were thrown out of your comfort zone. And just the more I would go, it was like, Dave, we're doing this. This is, and I just I felt like the call. I felt like I think I needed structure, and I needed discipline, and so like all of it I felt right. And I remember there's like a testing or something that I did in San Diego. I remember it was right prior to taking off to go to, I think it was the Great Lakes or something was where the boot camp was going to be. And I remember I stayed in San Diego, so that I did not pay for this hotel, but it was basically like a closet. And I remember so the room was it was like a closet, and it was very much like you're on your own, you're going, and every step I just would gain more strength with all of it. It's the first time ever really for me doing anything like that, and then to come to fail the test, and so like all of that was, when you come off of that, you're kind of lost. And I'm thankful for my high school coaches. I think without them, who knows.
So what's the 37 topic binder in Redlands High School's old trailer around the campus that has Dave Aranda's name on it? Is that your early years of learning football, studying football?
Yeah, I don't know. So I would go visit, though, my high school coaches. So Jim Walker was my head high school coach. He's retired now, and his first year was my sophomore year there. And then Miguel Almeida was my defensive coordinator and my linebacker coach. And I think LSU too. I would always go wherever I was at Calu or Houston or Delta State or Hawaii or Utah State or Wisconsin. Would always go and visit Redlands and visit with them and talk ball. And I remember it didn't hit me till a couple times. I kept going, wanting to learn from them, and they were not interested in that. They wanted to have me talk, and so I just remember I wasn't really frustrated, but it was kind of like, man, I just want to try to get better. I want to hear what they're doing, but they just all the time was just up there, just me. But I miss those times. Those are great people.
Undisciplined players have undisciplined coaches. You said that before. Mm-hmm. That's what drives you crazy about unnecessary penalties, huh?
Yeah, I think, or just, not going to class, or not, being late to meetings, or missing appointments, or I think all of those things add up. I think it's, the person drives the player. And I think, if at an early age you start saying, I'm going to perform in this area and I'm going to be real in this area, then it's easy for you to say, I can perform to this person, and then I'm going to be real with this person. And all of those, that's just a path that's not good to go on. I just think the more integration you do of who you really are into all areas, the better off you'll be.
One more thing. What's your favorite, if you had a favorite go-to meal, dinner, if somebody was to cook Dave Aranda the meal he wanted, I'm not saying your last meal, what would it be? Would it be Cajun food from your days at LSU, fish tacos from California, Tex-Mex, steak and potatoes? Is there one?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really eat. I think
Well, I heard about the fact you engulf an extra large pizza because that's just one more thing off your plate, right?
Yeah. So like I'll eat when like I feel like I'm on a faint, and I feel like I need some food.
That's not good.
And so I'll eat then. But like Saturday after the game, I'll have a steak, and so it'd probably be that. I think but I've never thought really of food as like my wife is very different. She can taste the differences and all these things, and likes to have taste or try different things where it's just food is something for me to check the box and let's get on to whatever we have.
This team's growing up in front of you, aren't they? You made the comment about the orphan or being a family. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I think when I'm obviously I have not been an orphan, but when I think of an orphan, I think of someone that wants to be seen, wants to be heard, wants to be valued, someone that is in a group but is really see me, love me, right? Where's my home? And the people that are around you, can I trust this person? Is this really, there may be some manipulation just naturally involved because I'm trying to get what's best for me. And I just think to go from an orphan to a family is where there's connection, where you can be you and not have to be anybody else. And you can have trust. And, I think you're comfortable in your own skin. I think that is quite a journey, and it takes work of wherever people are at, going down to find them. And I think, I think that there's a lot of work with that, coaches, players, both ends of it. And I think that's still ongoing. I think the importance of discipline, I think, is a thing that I think is hard, especially for younger kids. The importance of who you are as a person, I think, is hard, especially for younger kids. They're not 40-year-olds with families, and they've gone through midlife and this whole thing, and they have not, And I just remember when I was a kid, and it's way different than that now. And so I think there's things that I'm improving on the messaging, but then I think they're seeing. I think we can see each other's hearts, and so they know it's coming from a spot that's real, at least.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Baylor football coach Dave Aranda, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads. Crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary, or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the BetUS hotline, 254-339-1122.
All right, last couple of minutes here. Kansas leads TCU, 10 minutes left, second quarter, 14-7, and KU has the football. Top 25, Arkansas now inside the Alabama one, down 17-7. Looks like they'll have first and goal at the half-yard line. All right, here we go. Baylor and Kansas State. I think this will be a street fight. I have it 26-20. Baylor wins this game.
I had it Baylor 31-16, I want to say. I have to go back and look. But I had Baylor winning considerably, 31-17, something in that realm.
I take that back. I had 26-24. I knew it was going to be closer than that.
And tell me what, I don't remember what my exact one was.
27-23 Baylor, almost identical.
Yeah, 27-23 Baylor. I think that last week beating Oklahoma got their minds right. I think it kind of shifted the focus and the mentality of this team. I've been saying that all week. And I think that's going to translate into them showing up and performing well on the road. They have not played well on the road. We've hammered that home all week, but I think this is the day to change that. I know it's going to be a great atmosphere, and K-State will be ready to play, but I think when you just line them up player for player, I like Baylor better, and I know it's not going to be easy. That's why I predicted a close score, but I do think they pull it out in the end.
Well, Alabama and Arkansas looks like that could be going down all the way to the end. UAB leads UT San Antonio 21-17 late second quarter, and Cincinnati smoking SMU 27-0. 4 minutes left in that game at halftime.
And they've got the ball, and they're still chunking it up, and they nearly scored again. So Cincinnati is threatening to put up a 35 spot right before or with about 3:54 to go before halftime. So, yeah, this is getting ugly. Not at all the game that we probably thought it was going to be, SMU and Cincinnati. So good for the Bearcats.
Yeah, absolutely. On that, Brigham Young for eventual Big 12 teams leads Georgia Southern. Second quarter, 8 minutes left, 14-10.
And Cincinnati needed this to be emphatic.
They need to,
but all they're going to do is turn around and say SMU is overrated, and then mess around with the rankings and all that. But yeah, I mean, they needed an emphatic win, and they're definitely delivering on that today. And who knows what this final score will end up being.
But Ohio State will get all the attention, and they earned that today by just destroying Michigan State the way they did. All right, Brian Etheridge in the studio. Jack McKenzie was at the Baylor men's basketball game, as we mentioned, 86-48 as they hammer Stanford after a 6-point lead at halftime, destroyed them in the second half. Also, for Armstrong Sims, Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina will be here with Spencer Drango in the postgame. Brian, halftime, cut in as well. I'm David Smoak. Thanks to all of you on the text line, also the chat room, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. And we'll re-rack the entire weekend, Monday at 3, with our talk show that starts right off the top, Central Time. Have a great afternoon. Enjoy college football. We're winding down the regular season. Good afternoon.
Over Kansas State, and not news Baylor really wanted to see there with Gary Bohannon going out clutching his hamstring, and Blake Shapen, those come in 4 or 5, 42 yards. Missed an open receiver there in the end zone at the end of the half. Ben Sims running across the middle of the end zone, but doing okay. So Shapen though right now 4 or 5. Gary was 9 of 14, 76 yards. The one thing we haven't seen today is Abram Smith's really he's not getting going. I mean, he's got 10 carries, 16 yards, while Treston Ebner has 8 for 38 and the touchdown. And Baylor's defense has been playing great except for one play. Deuce Vaughn got loose, went the distance, made got the touchdown for K-State to get them on the board to make it a 14-7. But Baylor then drives back down, makes it 17-7. So far, though, this half, Ben Sims, Drake Dabney, those have been the stars for the receiving side. Even though Estrada's leading the team, he had 1 catch for 33 yards. Dabney's got 2 for 22 in the touchdown. Sims got 2 for 21. Thornton and Snead, relatively quiet there, 2 for 20 and 3 for 12. The one thing that's needs to happen in the second half, Baylor has to get the running game going with Abram Smith and get the O-line moving K-State off the ball. K-State is trying to stop the run. They're stuffing the line and doing an effective job of it. Baylor's defense is also doing an effective job, again, outside of that one play to Deuce Vaughn, of getting on Thompson, getting him pressured, pushing him around, pushing the O-line of K-State around. It's been interesting to watch. I think you'll see some different combinations of players here in the second half, because there have been some that haven't been playing a little bit in the first half. So I think there's going to be some fresh bodies coming in, puts a little bit more pressure on Thompson. And that's Brian Etheridge here for Sikkim 365 with our 2-minute take at halftime.